This is why the Roy Rogers Museum has been closed for good. Roy Rogers, known by many as the King of the Cowboys, has more than earned his place in movie legend. And like many Hollywood idols, the Western star had an entire museum dedicated to his life and career, one that once pulled in over 200,000 visitors a year. But now the attraction has shut its doors for good. Many fans have wondered what the truth was behind this sad shuttering. With Rogers' family maintaining his estate and legacy, surely nothing could get in the way. Or could it? Movie legend. You'd expect the Lewis and Clark apartment was a popular attraction in Branson, Missouri, where Ed's museum is located. But of course, Rogers wasn't always well known. Leonard Sly was born on November 19, 1911, just 20 years before the Great Depression began. When he was young, Leonard learned to ride a horse alongside square dancing and yodeling. These talents would come in handy when he was discovered by the entertainment business. Breaking out. The young Rogers auditioned for the Midnight Frolic radio program on the recommendation of his sister Mary. He was a bashful young man at the time, yet he still had it in him to perform. As a consequence, he joined a country music group known as the Rocky Mountaineers. Bob Nolan and Tim Spencer were also members of this band early in their careers. Sons of the Pioneers. Rogers, Spencer, and Nolan formed a trio in 1933 that became the Sons of the Pioneers 3 years later. The Sons of the Pioneers flourished as a result of radio's popularity. Their songs such as Cool Water and Tumbling Tumbleweeds are still popular today. You'd think that being known as the Spunky Texan would be enough to keep Roy Rogers' Dale Evans Museum open, but it isn't. Autry's friend turned rival. Rogers is an iconic figure in the world of screen westerns. He started out as a supporting character to Gene Autry, who quickly rose to become one of his main competitors. As he grew more popular in the movie industry, he changed his name from Leonard Sly to Roy Rogers. Trigger. Rogers couldn't have succeeded without his equine partner Trigger by his side. At the beginning of Rogers' film journey, he was given a choice of many horses to ride and selected Golden Cloud for 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood. After later buying the horse, Rogers renamed him Trigger because of the animal's agility and smarts. Lots of tricks. To people close to him, Rogers' horse Trigger was an incredibly clever and quick to learn. He could apparently walk on his hind legs, sit on a chair, put a blanket over himself, and even sign X for a signature. According to Rogers, the two were inseparable as well. And both Trigger and William's fame grew tremendously throughout the years. That's likely why the equine star was honored in Rogers' museum. Rocky marriages. Rogers was married a few times during the height of his career. First, he took vows with Lucille Escalise, a fan of his, in 1933. However, the union didn't last and they divorced in 1936. That same year, Rogers married Grace Arline Wilkins, also later adopting a child with her. But while Grace bore 2 other children, she tragically died from complication after birthing the couple's son. Family drama. Rogers met his third wife, Dale Evans, on the set of their movie Home in Oklahoma. The museum is named after her. Evans actually had a child from another marriage whom she had to hide while working as an actress, since 20th Century Fox told people that the child, Tommy, was her younger brother. Losing Robin. When Rogers and Evans said "I do" on New Year's Eve 1947, she would make an honest woman of him. And as a memento of their first encounter, the pair married at the ranch where the film Home in Oklahoma had been produced. After that, they had a kid named Robin Elizabeth. But sadly, she passed away due to problems associated with Down syndrome before reaching 2 years old. In memory of their child, Evans penned Angel Unaware, a journey into learning about people with Down syndrome in 2005. Finding meaning. After their daughter was killed, Evans and Rogers resolved to alter the public's perception of disability. And Evans made such an impression that the Dale Rogers Training Center, a council for intellectually disabled youngsters, is now named after her. The pair later adopted and raised 4 more children. Further hardships. Rogers experienced more tragedy as time passed. Debbie, an orphan of the Korean War, taken in by Rogers and Evans, lost her life at the age of 12 in a bus accident. Additionally, Sandy, another adopted child, went on to serve in the Army but died while being treated in a military hospital in 1947. Growing star power. Rogers' career continued with a lot of merchandise being produced around him. Toys, novels, even a comic book series from Dell Comics. In addition to that, Evans became a household name, appearing in almost 30 of her husband's films. Rogers bought the rights to his own image in 1940, allowing him to become wealthy as a result. The Roy Rogers Show. In 1951, The Roy Rogers Show began, which included Rogers and Evans with their animals Trigger and Bullet the Wonder Dog. Pat Brady was also part of the cast as Rogers' sidekick character, and despite the fact that it wasn't very long-lasting, the program is still remembered fondly today. Cameos Galore. After The Roy Rogers Show came The Roy Rogers and Dale Evans Show, but the latter was canceled after just 3 months thanks to low ratings. Rogers wasn't done yet, though. He made various cameo appearances in other TV shows, which included Wonder Woman and The Muppet Show. A legendary steed. However, in 1976, they relocated the museum and Trigger's preserved body to Victorville, California. Bullet on display. Not even the taxidermied remains of Bullet the Wonder Dog, Evans's horse Buttermilk, or Trigger Jr., the horse who served as a stunt double for the original Trigger, could get people to come back and keep the museum open. Restaurant Glory. In 1968, Rogers made a business agreement with Marriott, in which he allowed the company to rebrand its Hot Shops restaurants to Roy Rogers Restaurants. In exchange for his name, Rogers received money as well as compensation for any appearances he made at the eateries. Eye-popping interview. Although Rogers' business deals were undoubtedly important to him, it would seem that his relationships with his children may have been of great concern. In 1987, People magazine ran an interview with Roy Rogers Jr., aka Dusty, in which he reflected on childhood experiences growing up with such famous parents. His thoughts were echoed by those of his mother and father. Roy as a father. Rogers expressed to people that Dusty and Sandy and I used to go out for a couple of weeks at a time and hunt and fish and live off the land. He believes that if parents take the time to teach kids right from wrong when they're young, it'll be easier for them as they grow up. Additionally, he stated that this shows you love them. A temporary rift. Dusty and his father did, however, briefly fall out after the former graduated from high school and wanted to get into movies. Yes, it seems that Rogers didn't want his son to follow in his own footsteps, and instead told him to get a good job. I got mad and left town with friends. Dusty reminisced to people. Luckily, though, the pair made up in the end. A different man. I used to wonder when I was a kid what in the world was so exciting about this guy, Dusty told the magazine about his father. Then I got to going through all the clippings, the fan mail, the thousands of pictures of all the things he's done, the children's hospitals he's visited. It's almost unbelievable. This is the man I'd spent my whole life with and had never really gotten to know. Heaps of awards. Rogers' success continued throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s. He had at least 3 stars inscribed in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 1 for TV, 1 for radio, and 1 for movies, in 1988. In addition, Rogers was a member of Oklahoma's Western Performers Hall of Fame and the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in 1997. The star was also added to the Sons of the Pioneers in 1995. Hall of Famer. During his career, Tex Ritter was a member of the Sons of Pioneers and solo artist. He's the first person to do so. But that isn't all. In 1983, he won a Golden Boot Award, and in 1996, an award for founding the Golden Boot. Heart failure. The star's impact was so great on American pop culture that then-President Bill Clinton commemorated his death when he passed away from congestive heart failure in 1998 at 86 years old. Many descendants. When Rogers sadly passed away, he had 15 grandchildren and 33 great-grandchildren, with his wife and 6 children still alive. These children were Roy Rogers Jr., Linda Lou Johnson, Dodie Sailors, Cheryl Barnett, Tom Fox, and Marion Swift. At this time, Roy Rogers Jr. was also the curator of the museum devoted to his father. A museum regular. In addition to the Smithsonian and Children's Museum, the museum is also home to a variety of other exhibits. The New York Times published an obituary for Rogers that included mention of the museum as well. Mr. Rogers would frequently pay a visit to the museum and engage with guests, it said. He continued to wear his white Stetson, Garabine suits, and silver and leather belts, even though his legs ached and he would have more comfortable in sneakers.